89. I'm your host, Blain, and I'm joined by my co-hosts Trege Wilson, and Matt Smith. But more importantly, we have two very special guests from Habs Fan TV, Cederik Seguin and Alexandre Rougas. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the francophone pronunciation, but I'm fully anglophone.
Yeah, no, the francophone
No,
was perfect.
That's
But that
spot
was
on.
good.
Well,
I like
Blaine's
that.
a, Blaine's a
Love it.
francophone, so that's why he did it
I feel you.
perfectly.
Blain, pas de vin.
Yeah.
Old man.
Although he's from
Old man.
Sudbury, so I don't know how francophone
That's where I grew up.
Sudbury is.
You kind of sounded like Michel Lacroix for a couple of seconds, so it gave me chills.
I'll take the compliment.
Michel Lacroix.
Damn straight. Guys, we're really happy to have you on the show finally. I know Trege's been doing all the heavy lifting on getting you guys here. That's his forte.
All I
can
do.
see that.
All he does, pick things up, put them down. So we've had a long summer. We've got a few things we can talk about with all the latest news. But before we get started, why don't you tell us a little bit about the draft in Nashville and how that went for you guys as you were in behind the scenes with Habs Fan TV, covering the entire event.
Well, look, Nashville was honestly probably the most incredible experience in your life. Like at the end of the day, our page started with us being Habs fans, and Habs fans are all of a sudden asking questions to Reinbacher, Kent Hughes, Connor McDavid, you name it. So like from a personal perspective, it was kind of like a dream come true, and in a pretty short time frame. And I think the things that we got to see is just, you realize everyone that's known in the NHL is around. You can talk to them. The prospects are there. You build relationships with certain players and certain prospects that are there that could last for a long time. So we really, really enjoyed our experience. I think it was a very memorable draft for a lot of reasons. I think the Canadians, in the end, probably shocked everyone with that pick. I could tell you that anyone who was at the draft did not really think that Reinbacher was going to come out of the bag. But overall, the experience was incredible.
So, like you said, it'd been a short time. How did you guys start? When you guys just were hanging out where the players came out and I'm just asking questions. That's how it all started, wasn't it? And then now it's kind of seems like you get media passes. You get so how did this all start for you guys?
So this started, I would say, after the 2021 Cup run. I had honestly, since 2017, after the Subban trade, I had completely dropped out of hockey. Like when 2021 started, I was like, who is Suzuki? Who is Caulfield? Who are all these players? I don't know any of them. And, once they made that run and, you see all the people outside and you see all the fans. And it kind of reminded me that, the fans have kind of been lost in all this process. And I wanted to find a way to give Habs fans a platform to really put out their opinions, whether it's funny, whether it's serious, whether it's whatever, but kind of to break the mold of traditional media. So the 2021-2022 season, I said, well, listen, they're probably going to make the cup final again because, they just made it. So it's like, obviously, it did not turn out that way at all. But, it laid the foundations for what happened right after, which was the next season. Cederik came along. We met each other at the draft. He said, you should think about maybe, doing some interviews with players. And I was like, yes, like I envisioned that down the line. But, Cederik decided to pick up his phone. He went a few times to the practice rinks and he managed to get a few sound bites from different players. It only takes about 15 seconds to ask a good question, so, and put it on TikTok, especially. It can't be more. So, ever since then, we've built, good relationships with certain players. I think the fans are loving it. I think the players are loving it. So, what happened with the draft is, Hockey DB, they have a majoritively Montreal audience. So they decided to hire, the best Montreal reporters they could ask for. So we got hired on their behalf and, made some content for them.
And I am going to bring up your reaction on the Reinbacher pick. Now,
His reaction was the best, to be honest.
It was good. Now, I will say you did come out and say, "Hey, I'm not pick." Was it more shock of who they picked, or because your reaction was classic? It was classic.
Look, I mean, when I put it out, I knew it probably wouldn't make everyone happy, but I know that deep down, a lot of people felt this way. And I think it would have been kind of inauthentic for me to take it down just because, things turned a different way after, but putting in my position, okay, in my position, the day before we had talked to Michkov outside his hotel, just like very impromptu. And, we asked him, well, Matvey, do you want to play for Montreal? He's like, yes, like it would be great. They just have to pick me. And then we asked him, I'm like, okay, but like they're not sure if you want to play in the NHL or not. So what do you have to say about that? And he's like, well, like obviously it's my dream to play in the NHL. Like I wouldn't be here otherwise. So for me in my head, walking into that draft and with all the speculation about Michkov's stock rising, Kent comes out and says, he's very mature and everything like that. You don't really get an indication that there's any reason not to pick a forward when, in my opinion, probably that's the place where we needed a superstar. A superstar at defense, Reinbacher could end up being that guy. But for me, I think the biggest shock was just the fact that we didn't go for either Michkov or Leonard, and that we went for a defenseman instead. I think that's where the shock came from. And then, listen, after 10 minutes, you realize like, okay, that wasn't what I expected, but at least they picked the best defenseman in the draft. And clearly, when I saw the Coyotes pick Simashev 6th, I'm telling myself, well, you know what? Probably Reinbacher was going to get picked at number 6. So you add those things together and you realize that, listen, the guy, it's not his fault. And, he's probably going to have a good career with the Canadiens if he develops the way he's projected to develop. So for me, it became very easy to get on board after.
Matt, you got anything?
You kind of took the question right out of my mouth. I was going to ask you if you're kind of the way you thought about Reinbacher has changed, and it kind of seems like it has.
Well, I wouldn't say, it didn't really change. It wasn't even in my possibility. It wasn't in the realm of possibility in the days leading up to it. So you receive that kind of shock that like, okay, this is actually happening now. So you look into the player a little bit more closely than you did before, but at the end of the day, I won't pretend to be a draft expert. I don't think Cederik is either, so, at the end of the day, we're just talking to talk, like,
right.
But in what we were basing ourselves on was more of the speculation. So maybe that'll be a lesson for the next draft, is to not listen to any of the speculation.
Right. I think you're right. I think everyone was really expecting a kind of a home run swing at a forward. A lot of people were saying Michkov. And then like when Carlson went instead of Fantilli, everyone kind of looked at each other. We're like, all right, what's going on? Then Fantilli falls to Columbus. And then all of a sudden Will Smith's off the board to San Jose. And it was kind of like, okay, here's the opportunity. Here's the opportunity to go out and get that elite offensive player. And, poor Carey Price up on the podium, that's going to be a soundbite that's going to live on TSN for years now. And then, the Reinbacher pick comes in and we're all kind of looking at each other. Okay. Let's hope for the best. Right. So
especially, that you made a good point. You add the Carey Price factor right before, you're completely disoriented. And also a part of the video where I'm on the floor right before, I kept saying like, I'm going to throw up, like, this is insane. I'm going to throw up. So that's why the puking comment came after, not because of Reinbacher, but just because the pressure of this pick started to dawn upon me, So, yeah.
I know Blain and I looked at each other when Carey Price kind of paused there, and we're like, what's going on here, right?
Yeah, I'm like, is this a sick joke? I'm like, there's no way they're making a joke out of a kid's draft. Like, there's no,
I was thinking that too. I think they were going to say David and then switch the name to something else. I was like, because the way he was messing up, and I'm like, are they at first I was like, are they picking Reinbacher? And then when he didn't say the name, I was like, no, they're just messing around. And then yeah, then all of a sudden,
Yeah.
and Ken Hughes tried to save Price by saying we planned it this way. So I mean, I don't think they did, but props to him for trying to save him, I guess. But
Right.
I was Team Leonard. If anyone really wants to know, I was hoping they'd pick Leonard, but
That was me.
that they went with Reinbacher, and we live with it.
No, I fully
we-
expected Leonard myself to be at 6 with everybody else gone. Cederik, were you surprised as well by the interest in Reinbacher, or?
But I mean, like we look at the first picks, we see Smith, Bedard, Fantilli, Carlson, all gone. Then, like Alex said, we got Mishkov right on the board for us, and we go with a defenseman. It was pretty disappointing, and like exactly what he said. We met Mishkov earlier. He said he wanted to play in the NHL. When they went for Reinbacher, we were both like a little bit disappointed, but at the end of the day, I think Kent Hughes made the right choice, and so far we can prove Kent Hughes wrong.
We're going to get into the offseason here, but I don't think Ken Hughes has done many wrong moves so far in my opinion, so far for the Canadians going forward. But we'll let Blain segue into whatever he wants to go into next year. So,
Well, he hasn't had any big, massive home run move. It's just a little win here, a little win there, a little positive here, and they kind of stack it all together. They put everything together, and it's little building blocks. So after the draft, I know there was a lot of negativity amongst a lot of the fan base because everyone did have their hearts set on this offensive star in the making. Everyone had this high hope that, okay, finally we got a 50-goal scoring winger. But they tend to forget that there's already one of those types of players on the roster. They were kind of tunnel visioned on that. So I can understand why he would go a different route. I, like you, Treg, thought Leonard was the guy.
Yeah.
But knowing about Reinbacher, speaking to his World Juniors coach for, on and off for 6 months, I knew a lot about this young player, so I wasn't upset. But you guys are the ones with the finger on the pulse of the local fan in Montreal. You get to see a lot of these guys. But the one person that I really wanted to know more from is the Franco Flavor Flav, the big guy with the beard with the gigantic gold chains.
Danik.
I hear from him.
Danik.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Danik is the super fan. Like this guy, he has season tickets. He's there at 3:00 before every game. He gets ready, gets the juices flowing. There's beer being served and everything. You know what I'm saying? So he gets ready for the game, and afterwards, the first time it was after the Kirby Doc winner against Pittsburgh overtime. And, he came on and, he had a nice voice, a loud voice, and he liked to talk. And I was like, you should come back on. You should come back on. I feel like a lot of people are going to like you. And he's like, oh, really? Well, listen, I have season tickets, so you're not going to miss me. So, yeah. And ever since then, the guy gets stopped in the supermarket, at the cinema. People are asking to do the dance with him and together with him. We're outside the Bell Center, we're at the Rocket game, we're at the wherever you can name it. They know this guy, and it kind of exemplifies kind of like the kind of vibe that we want to have around the team. I think it's very easy to be negative, especially on social media. So I think the fact that like we're trying to make it kind of positive, especially like in probably a pretty terrible year, overall. You didn't have your superstars playing like Caulfield, and you still managed to make dances for Harvey Pinard and Kirby Doc because they scored, or they scored twice, or they scored 3 times. I think he was a very much needed positive force that we needed to get through this season, at least for me.
Even Montembeault does his dance.
Yeah,
everyone knows. They all know. They all know. I think even Kirby knows. I told him, but I think Kirby's just the type to not get into it.
Yeah.
Harvey Pinard at some point, I think the dudes at the LSHL were like, oh, if you do it, he's buying us all dinner, and he's like, Nah, it's okay. He spared me. So thankfully, thanks a lot, Harvey Pinard. Very generous guy. But
But Arvid Pinard told us not enough flexible to the dance, so
yeah,
that's a bummer.
it takes some flexibility. It takes probably some knee pads on, but then you can do it without the knee pads.
I don't think we need the Habs doing anything that might hurt them, because there's something in the water at the Bell Center, and it's not good.
Hey, they got new trainers now. They have new trainers now.
That's gonna fix it. Why don't you fire the 100? Yeah, why don't you fire the 100-year-old doctor that they have and bring in someone new? That's what they got to do. But my 2 cents.
Now, with the latest news with the Canadiens, the big trade, Hughes somehow comes out as the winner, as the third man in. He comes in off the top rope, hits them with a chair, walks away with all the goodies. What was your take? I'll start with Cederik. What was your take on that 3-way trade?
I mean, we get the man, the myth, the legend back, Jeff Petrie, so that's a good thing. Well, it's not, but like for the joke, it is. But we also get Casey DeSmith, a good second goalie, I think, and we get Nathan Légaré. Nathan Légaré, like, it's a good fourth line, third line project, still young, second rounder, and a second round pick off of that. Can use absolutely steal the Pittsburgh Penguins.
And also, I think this is genuinely the best move Kent Hughes has made in his entire tenure. And I will go as far to say that, because not only did you get a good asset in Jeff Petrie, because let's say down the line, we cut half his salary. For $2.5 million, you can get a power play general like Jeff Petrie. There's going to be a lot of teams interested in that. If we keep him, I think he'll be traded before, but let's say theoretically. And not only that, the most important part is we managed to pull off a miracle and trade Mike Hoffman. That, for me, alone is a win, because Armia, I'm like, okay, well, you know what, 3.5 million, maybe like over the next year, like he'll cook up something, he'll have like another 3-goal game for no reason, and maybe he'll gain some steam. But Mike Hoffman, even when he was scoring 30-40 goals and then he was UFA, no one was interested. But who was? Mr. Marc Bergevin, obviously. But now that we managed to get him off the books, it gives us so much more flexibility, especially next year too. I think that contract was going to be untradeable, and I think we were going to lose Hoffman for absolutely nothing. So just that, I don't know how they did it, but I'm extremely thankful for it.
Not eating any of the cap and opening up a roster spot for one of the young guys to step in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Especially at forwards, where there's we speak often about the logjam at left D. The logjam at forwards is crazy. Like we don't even have place for our young prospect. Let's say, we're talking about Josh Roy wanting to make a spot. We're talking about Owen Beck maybe making a spot. Those guys don't even have a spot because there's so many veterans that are there. So this was very, very important. And I'm very glad that, Hoffman was the one to be traded out, especially.
Technically, if you look at it right now, Yolonen or RHP don't really have a spot yet. One of them does, but the other one doesn't, unless they waive Armia or something. Like, I don't know what they're going to do there, but
it's a mess. It's a genuine mess.
Because you're absolutely right. We have guys, Owen Beck, Joshua Waugh, Sean Farrell, Emil Heineman, who could all push in this preseason and maybe try to steal a spot, but where do you put them?
Well, at the same time, would you rather them playing fourth line minutes in Montreal or top line minutes in Laval?
Well,
right.
Well,
what's going to be better? What's going to be better for their development overall, right? Like, there's guys that are in Laval right now that you can plug on a fourth line in Montreal, and they can, it's not going to hurt them. A guy like, if an injury happens, which is probably going to happen, because it's Montreal, you bring up a guy like Elias Anderson, say he's not, in my opinion, one of the long-term plans for the Canadiens. But you don't want to do that with a Joshua Roy. You don't want to do that with an Owen Beck, etc.
Well, next year I feel like Marty St. Louis should keep a first and second line rolling normally, but that third and fourth, make them play, make them have minutes, and we we're gonna build a team not with old guys, with young guys, and we gotta start now.
I agree.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you look at the projections, Joshua Waugh's probably going to be a third line, mid-range, second line type player anyway. Emil Heineman's probably the same. But if you guys get them in, you're absolutely right. If you're going to get them in the NHL, put them where you want them to play in the future. Don't do it Michel Therrien style and say, well, you're a rookie, you got to earn your minutes. While he's smoking a dart on the side of the bench there, trying to,
Well,
so
to be fair, you could almost argue that was kind of done with Slavkovsky this year, where he was kind of buried on that fourth line. Didn't look the greatest because also he just didn't fit with the other players that were on his line. And that was something that I remember, until he had gotten injured, people were pretty critical about the fact that St. Louis kept putting him on the third and fourth line. And then when he would play with Monahan, suddenly he would, produce a point or he would score or something like that. So I really hope that St. Louis doesn't make the same kind of mistake. And if he plans on doing that, maybe it is the time to send Slavkovsky to Laval, even as unimaginable as that is. But just because of this logjam at forwards and we're trying to create assets, we're kind of stuck in this situation. But I think at some point, Kent Hughes is going to have to decide. He's very big on making sure your assets, they grow in value and all this stuff. But while you do this, years are going to pass by. And we're going to say, oh, but next year, we have to put this guy because his contract's expiring. And we have to put up Gallagher now on the first line because his contract is expiring. At some point, I feel like he's going to have to cut his losses. I'm not going to say it's this year, maybe, where he's going to have to cut his losses and start waiving some guys or buying them out or whatever. But, as fun as it is to do like a puzzle there, at some point, he's going to have to realize that, the clock is ticking a little bit.
Yeah, Gallagher is going to be an interesting case over the next couple of years, I think. It's going to be because he's not going to make the end of his contract. He can't, whether it's health or
I think this could be a big year for him. Like if he goes down with another injury, and then you're looking at stepping into the next years and some of these prospects that are ready to jump into the team, they've got to make spots for him. And if you've got as much as I love Gallagher, you've got an injury plagued player making $6.5 million. Love him, as much as I love him, you got to do something with him.
So are you saying that the trainer should injure him? Is that what you're saying, Matt?
Yeah.
what he's saying is he needs to get a back injury that you can't prove or disprove, and get sent to Roboda Island for the remainder of his contract, because his contract's he got 4 years.
Yeah.
So it's not like.
But I love his style of play. I love what he brings to the team. I love what he does on the ice. It's just his body's been through so much, and his the wrist injuries and everything, and it just seems that he'll play hard for a few games and then he's down, and they're not short-term injuries anymore.
Yeah. Well, look, when you break both your hands and your goal is to score goals, there's an issue. But you know what? I will say at the end of the season, like, it looked like his shot was like kind of better. It looked like it was kind of better. But look, Gallagher, the thing is, I love this guy to death. And for, people are saying, oh, 6.5 million, how did they do that? And we have to remember also that he kind of got a discount on that first contract that he had signed. So, like, it kind of made sense to give him 6.5. Like, I'm okay with the guy getting paid. Same thing with Carey Price. The guy deserves every single dollar of that 10.5 million. I don't even want to hear it from anyone. But at the end of the day, the way it was structured was just terrible. I think about it, I'm like, Bergevin literally screwed this franchise in one summer with a series of signings that we now have to cope with. All those signings, whether it be Hoffman, Armia, there was so many. Savard, like, all those contracts all together in like one season where he just went like crazy. It set us back for years. and we kind of have to dance around it. So that's why I think people are lenient also with Hughes.
Now, on that those contracts, I think Bergevin did a good thing for the Canadians because it forced them to do the rebuild, something the team absolutely needed. So he didn't do it on purpose. He backed into it, but it provided the impetus for him to be let go and for them to actually, for the fan base too, to embrace a rebuild, because this is something the team has needed for what, 6, 7, 8 years now.
9, 10, 20.
Bergevin should have done a rebuild in 2013, and he should have built around the core of Gallagher, Subban, Pacioretty, Carey Price, and he should have built around that core, and he didn't. He just added pieces here and there, and then Carey Price was Carey Price. They probably could have went to the Cup final in 2014, and then Price. And I don't blame Price for this, but Price was a huge reason why Bergevin didn't rebuild and just plugged holes, because he was winning, right? Like the year Price was what? They were 10-0 or 10-1, and then Price went down with his knee injury. And then they just went trash. After that, they didn't even make the playoffs. They Ben Scrivens, I think he picked up there to help out Mike Condon. Like, come on.
Yeah.
But and I think that was the problem. And if he was a smart GM, he would have saw, well, I got to do something else to make this team take that next step. And he just didn't. He just plugged holes with whatever he could afford at the time. And I'm not an anti-Bergevin guy, to say the least. But looking back on it, I think they should have done some type of a rebuild in 2013 instead of this reset or retool or whatever the hell they did in 2017 or 18 or whatever that was.
A rebuild, a rebuild, his plan, it shouldn't take 9 years.
No, I think 2025 is when the Canadians are going to start pushing for a contention.
Exactly. And it's been like, what, 3 years since Hughes got in office? Makes sense. Like, I think we're already seeing more results, I feel, within a shorter time frame than I felt like we did under Bergevin. Bergevin, it just felt like things were just happening because, I don't know. It just felt very random. It didn't feel like there was a plan. Now, at least,
exactly.
Plan. That's the.
But even earlier than 2025, you could get some results for contention. Like even this year, like without Caulfield being injured, Monahan and basically the whole roster was injured. Like next year, if everybody stays healthy, we could push for a playoff spot.
Totally agree. I said that on the show a couple times. And
even when they were healthy, we saw Monahan. We kind of saw more or less a sample size of him, but he was playing good hockey when he was in the lineup, and it took some of that pressure off of Nick Suzuki on the top line. As soon as you lost Monahan from the fray, and then you had to rely on someone like Dvorak to be that 2C, or they swapped Kirby Dach down to the 2C position and broke up that top line. We saw the extra minutes being put on Suzuki, and by the end of the season, he was just done. Because you can only play 22.
He's the only one that played, though.
Well, yeah, you're playing 22 minutes a night, right?
Yeah.
He's the only one that played all games.
Yeah.
I've always said, even with this year, if Montreal stayed healthy, they're not picking top 10. Or they're picking around the 10th pick. I still believe if they stayed healthy all year, they were picking 10 to 15 in the draft.
And people like to talk about, but our division and blah, blah, blah. Listen, the Ottawa Senators, who, Sens fans will say are creating the next dynasty, the most incredible thing they've ever seen, they only got a measly 10 more points than the Canadians this year.
Yep.
5 wins. With Caulfield back in the lineup for half the games, do you think the Canadians could have gotten 5 more wins?
Absolutely.
I think so. Not only that, okay, you've got Detroit. Meh. Okay, sure, they might make a step this year. Buffalo, I'm more scared that Buffalo will be in ahead of us. But even then, it's like it's a wild card, right? If Tage Thompson gets injured, we saw what happened at the end for Buffalo. It ran out of steam. So it's like I wouldn't, Boston could be on the way down. You never know how that's going to go. So I don't want any fans to be discounting the fact that, I don't want to hear tank for Celebrini. I'm fed up.
No,
Like,
no.
even last year, we were talking about tank for Bedard every game, and I was like, guys, we're actually not that terrible.
Yeah.
We're actually not that terrible. So for us to be saying tank for Bedard, first of all, scrapped half my footage. And second of all, when was I going to use that? When was I going to use that? We were chanting tank for Bedard on game 1. And even in game 1, even at the end, it didn't become clear. So
and they beat the Leafs in the first game. And people were like, what are you guys doing? You're supposed to be losing.
I was like, guys, it just started. Every season, it's a new thing. Like, guys, we had in 2010, we had a trio centered by David Desharnais and Travis Moen, and we made it to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah.
Montreal, it does something to a player.
Yeah.
When they come here, they become magicians. So as long as we just make it into the playoffs, after that, literally anything can happen. So I don't care if the team's not good enough. I don't care. We haven't had amazing teams, and we've still done a lot, So I don't think we should just look at the strength of the division as an excuse.
It's one thing to want high draft picks for a year or two, but if you keep doing it over and over again, it just gets too much. These teams have to start winning at some point.
Yeah.
I think
it's all those prospects.
You can stock the cupboard as much as you want. You got to do something with them, or pick and choose the ones you're going to utilize, and then move on from the rest and package them for something that's going to help you now.
I think it's the lack of superstar. It's the lack of the superstar power. But people are missing out because Cole Caulfield's going to be a superstar in the NHL. Lane Hudson could be a superstar in the NHL. He's projecting to be that guy. But I think that's the problem is fans. I think if you're right, if we would have got Michkov, I don't think anyone would care if we tanked this year or not. Because I think they'd be saying, all right, we got our guy. Now let's start winning. That's what I think. Yeah. Cedric, you were going to say something there. I don't know.
I mean, I was going to add to Alex, but like the next team to win like something the Atlantic's got to be the Buffalo Sabres. They just have that young core of guys that just got out of college, got out of juniors. Like they just want to win. But that's what we got to do in Montreal. Just get those young guys in the lineup and start winning.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think the defense, we played 5 defensemen at one time, the rookie defensemen, and they all played well. Like can you look at any of those defensemen and go, oh, that guy? I mean, I know the analytical guys take Arbor Jackeye for one thing because we don't need fighters. His XGF was -2. He sucks. I hate him. But he brought something to the game that Montreal needed, right? Like he brought that toughness, he brought that fear, he brought that intimidation, whether he had to use it or not. Plus, he could skate and he could shoot, right? For a guy that went undrafted. Caden Gooley is probably going to be the next Shea Weber, right?
Yeah. Solid.
Jordan Harris, another guy that's probably going to be at least top 4D. I'm not saying Jackeye will be a top 4D, but he
so far he is.
So far, with Montreal, he is. I mean, I like everyone on the show knows I'm a Jackeye. I love Jackeye. I think he's one of my favorite players.
The problem with Jackeye, if you put it down at sticks, he's going to do everything to his power to go back at number 1.
Yeah. And you never see him make the same mistake twice in a game. Never.
It's a good problem. It's a good problem to have. Like he just wants to be like the best version of him, the best player he could be.
But you know what? Even if he ends up being a solid 5-6 for an undrafted player with the story that he has, it's still a big win for the team.
Yeah, and most importantly, he plays for this.
Yes,
he plays for this
very much
every
so.
night.
Very much so.
And I honestly, unfortunately, like I like the core that we have, but I can't say all of them play for the C like he does. So, it's something that you can't say it's meaningless. You can't just, like Trege was saying, the statistics, everyone can shove them up their ass, honestly, because when Jackeye's on the ice, the other guys are afraid, and you'll say, okay, but we have Pizzetta. Listen. We got the clear winner in who's going to be handling the fights. Even Pizzetta admitted it himself. But you know, you have to have this guy in the lineup.
Yeah.
And
There's a little bit of a weight class difference too when you start talking. You don't like. I'll give it to Pizzetta. He'll drop with anybody, but do I want to see him dropping the gloves with Ryan Reeves again?
No,
I don't.
No,
Right?
no.
There's a difference between. Go ahead.
I was going to just say he doesn't really need to. Jack is there, and you know, Pez I think could offer probably something better in terms of energy, and you know, like when he's on, you know, you notice him, he's throwing hits, whatever.
Yep.
I think just throwing hits, you know, making it uncomfortable for the defense. It's more valuable than him getting into a fight.
Yeah, or him to going out there taking a stupid penalty and costing the team a game.
Yeah,
exactly.
Right. He knows how to forecheck. He knows how to forecheck. He knows how to bring
yes,
energy.
he does.
But look,
and there's a major difference. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Cederik.
Oh, go ahead. No, but I was just gonna say for defense next year, like we're stacked on defense. We don't need any more defense. Like we got Aris, Guli, Kovacevic, Barron, Chakai. We're gonna get Mayu. We're gonna get Hudson. I'm at like 7 guys.
Yeah.
Then you have like all the old timers: Wyman, Savard, Petrie, Madison. Where are we gonna play them? So I think we just need to keep one veteran, Mike Madison, and the rest we trade them.
Yeah. And Matheson in a couple of years' time could become a very good trade fodder once the younger guys are ready to step up into that role.
Yeah.
Personally, I think Matheson within the next year will be the best trade asset they're going to have on that blue line. Yeah. Especially when it comes time for Lane Hudson to come into the NHL, you can start kind of moving him out, and he's still going to be worth getting something back for.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about Ryan Backer too.
Yeah,
we're gonna be stuck on defense.
I was gonna say with Matheson, like last season, he was on like almost a PK Subban Norris pace, like very low key, and no one talked about it.
Yeah.
So, as much as we're saying he can generate trade value and everything, I feel like if he has a really good season this year, I don't know if people are going to be willing to trade him. With as much as we love our youngsters, I think Matheson really right now is about to hit his peak. And if the Canadiens want to get serious in the next few years, could be a really good guy to have. Also, just like off the ice, the guy is just class. Like, you know, he'll take the time with the fans. Like, you know, that's the thing about the guys that are from here. You know, we get a lot of talk about les gars de chez nous, and you know, it's not good because we're always conditioned this way. But you know what? Mike Matheson will sit outside the parking lot and sign everyone's jersey, picture, whatever you name it. Harvey Pinard yesterday, I think he sat 30 minutes inside the arena after the game.
Yeah.
Stuff. He goes
15 minutes outside
in his car. Yeah. And he continues for 15 minutes. For the value that it adds to the community and for the Habs to improve their image and, you know, kind of get better stories out to the fans and get them more connected from that level, it's super necessary to keep guys like that around.
And like yesterday with Arvid Pinal, I was the one like handing him the Sharpies and everything. And like after he was finished signing everything, I told him it's super nice like for you to like stay there and take the time with everybody. And he told me, you know what? When the guys did that when I was younger, it was the best moments. So to give back, that's what he said. So he's such a nice guy, pure of heart, and really a class guy.
That brings up a point too of the community. When you talk about the community and culture and all that stuff, is why Montreal needs francophone players on the team. I know this for some people is a sore spot for some reason. I don't know. Now they don't need that francophone player to be a top line center or whatever. They just need a francophone or two on the team so that young francophone players can see them and go inspired to be there and have them out in the community. Jonathan Drouin, I thought was great for the community because he always did stuff in the off season in the communities in Montreal. I mean, love him or hate him, he was there for the community. So
yeah, no, he showed up, and I remember at some point, I think it was in San Jose, I had told him, you know, like, you know, you do really good work with your foundation, and like I feel like people don't give you enough credit for it. And he said, well, I don't do it to get credit, you know. He's very much a quiet guy, very much goes about his stuff, and Like that's why, especially this season, where a lot of people had a lot to say about Jonathan Drouin. Um, I think it also goes back to what we were saying before about like, trying to keep everything positive, because at the end of the day, the guy's on the last year of his contract. Like now is not the time to complain about how he's been playing. It's been 6 years now. And, along the way, he had injuries, he had all sorts of stuff happen to him. So, it's just, what do you call it? It's just an unfortunate thing. It's nothing to hate on the guy. It was just an unfortunate set of circumstances. That's it.
And he was producing well when he was playing. He was a good producer. He's a decent player, but I think the expectations were that he was going to be this top line superstar. And then when he didn't reach that level, people started to get sour on him, and they started to pile up when he didn't deserve it.
And Sergachev ending up the way he didn't help either.
Salt in the wound.
Like I said,
Yeah.
The most unfortunate set of circumstances for Jonathan Drouin in Montreal.
Treg, what else you got?
I'm good. I talk too much.
We all do.
All right. So before we end the show, there's one serious, significant question that I need to ask Cederik, and that's: have you and Alexandre mended fences after he benched you at Kevin Lafayette's charity tournament?
Okay, so basically, like he did this whole story about benching me, but at the end of the day, he didn't, because I scored a big goal for the team. But you know what? I was a turnover machine at that game. I made so many turnovers. Like my stat line is like 1 goal, 80 turnovers. But we don't talk about that. We're just talking about the goal, and we talked about how Alex is a good coach, and he should be back next year. And if he wins next year, I see him like going to an NHL roster.
Listen, I hear that the NHL is calling to give me a Jack Adams award, like in an honorary fashion. Obviously, Cederik, I tried to bench him, but he would just find his way on the ice. When Josh Hall was going on, he's like, okay, I'm going on too. So, he got a bit excited.
We were good line mates.
Yeah.
Like honestly, at that game, I felt like Connor Bedard. Like he was getting passes, I was sniping, but I couldn't find the end of the net like him.
Pure turnover machine. Actually, right before he scored, I was about to tell him, I'm like, I can't play you. I can't play you right now. You're turning over the puck. Like, I don't know what to do with you. And he took someone gave him a water bottle, had something in it. And
it was the Michael Jordan secret sauce.
Michael Jordan secret sauce. And he went on the ice and he did it.
I did.
I don't know if he shot the puck like that. I don't know if you look at the angle. I don't think he even shot the puck. It kind of just like floated in. You just touched it to kind of like, I don't know. What
Cedric, it doesn't matter. Years from now, it was a snipe top corner. Goalie didn't even see it.
I'm a point per guy. I'm a point per guy player at the Classic R. But you know what? Next year I'm gonna be back. I'm actually gonna sleep early this time before the game. Gotta do a pregame warm up and everything. Because one thing we gotta say: 1 minute before the game, I didn't even have my skate on. My skates were wasn't ready. I wasn't ready for the game. Like it was doing a speech. It was just me like tying up my skate, putting my shoulder pads on. Like I wasn't a team player at the Classic Car, but next year I'll be. I learned from my mistake. I was the rookie this year. Next year I'm gonna be a veteran on the team, so I learned from my mistake, and I'm ready to have a bigger role next year.
All right, I just gotta have some quick fire questions for both of you. Caulfield, does he score 50 goals or not?
Yes.
He's gonna score 60.
Ooh.
You could clip that. He's gonna score more than 50. I'm telling you, I'm betting you a lunch. I'll pay you a lunch. Anything you want. Like McDonald's could be great for the budget, but
so Montembeault, does he become the number 1 goalie in Montreal?
he already is.
He already is.
Do they? So that you think they're going to extend him?
Yeah,
yes,
obviously.
Okay. My last question: Montreal, do they push for a playoff spot or do they draft top 5?
They're gonna push.
Definitely push for playoff spot. No chance top 5. No chance. 0.
That's what I got.
Honestly,
you guys. Oh, go ahead.
I see them pushing top 5 if Kentu makes a big trade and we get like a first round pick. That's the only top 5 we're gonna get.
Blaine, Matt, what do you think of those
I'll
questions?
do a couple questions as well. Who starts on the top line with Suzuki and Caulfield?
Suzuki and Caulfield aren't gonna be together.
Okay.
Ooh.
Ooh.
And you know what? And me and Cedric, we both align on this. There might be an uncomfortable conversation one day where we must admit that Suzuki might actually be playing better with Raphael Harvey-Pinard than Caulfield. And we may have to try Kirby Dach and Caulfield. We may have to try it.
Yeah,
But to answer your question, I don't see Kirby Dach going on the wing because I love him so much at center. It's like it's night and day. Like as good as he was on the wing, at center he's even more incredible. So I think it's either Newhook or Monahan. I'm gonna say Monahan for the size.
No, I'm gonna say Monahan's gonna be with Kirby Dach and Cole Caulfield because chemistry Monahan and Caulfield was amazing. So Newhook, Harvey-Pinard, Suzuki is gonna be your first line.
Okay. Juraj Slafkovsky, does he have a jump this year, or what do you think is going to happen with him?
Absolutely, at least a 40-point season.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Second line minutes.
You can make it.
Yeah,
I think so.
That's good for me. Play.
Over under for points in a season for the team as a whole. Which would you pick? Over under on 75 points?
Over.
Last year we got 70, right? I think because I remember I had a bet actually under 71 points for the Canadians.
Last year they had 68. 68 last year. Sorry.
Exactly 68. It came really close. I was stressed. I had a lot of money on that. I was really stressed. I think it's going to be over 75. I think so.
Easily.
More. Easy.
Yeah, I think around
another
80.
over under. I got another over under. Number of injuries. Over or under 15?
Under.
Ooh.
Over because that's life. Can't have nice things. That's it.
Especially in Montreal.
Are you counting price? Because right now you're at at least one. If you're counting price.
It'd be kind of cheating if we did.
Yeah.
I still think they'll get over 15.
Over 15?
Yeah.
Okay, I got one more.
The same player can get re-injured.
I got one more.
Good point.
Will Nick Suzuki miss a game next year?
No, he's going for that Phil Kessel record.
Yes, he will. He's going to have some sort of illness. That's it. Okay. Nothing major.
Okay.
He's going to miss a game eventually. Unlike Phil Kessel, Nick Suzuki goes in the corner.
Yeah, but Phil Kessel's a 3-time Stanley Cup champion.
Crushing hot dogs.
That's true.
Oh, damn.
Phil Kessel proves no matter what body you have, you can be an NHL player. You just got to know how to shoot and skate. That is it.
Yeah, Cedric also taught that too.
Yeah. Blaine, you can still make it, Blaine. You can still make it.
I think I'm 30 years past my time.
And you can't skate or shoot, so.
Cedric's draft year is coming.
Yeah, it's coming next year.
Just saying. A lot of people thought he was a draft pick in Nashville. That's also something really funny.
So, what you should have done is dressed up afterwards and went around like you just got drafted.
We did that. Don't worry.
Oh,
we did. We got some videos. We got some videos. It was pretty hilarious.
To do in Vegas.
In Vegas, it's gonna be 10 times better than Nashville. But like the first day in Nashville, we arrived there. We were like walking around the arena. I was wearing like flip flops with socks, like the worst drip ever. Like people were coming up to me for signatures and like nothing. And like at some point, like people weren't going up to Alex, so we realized it wasn't for Habs Fan TV. It's just I have the look of a draft pick. But you know what? I don't have the skills.
Follow your dreams. Here you go. Here's your
to be honest, this year I'm gonna go at the ODR every day for like 6 hours a day. I'm gonna make an Alec take and send it to the Arizona Coyotes. Because I feel like
Like, imagine some poor kid now has Michkov signed on his stick, and under he has Cederik Seguin.
Yeah, that's real.
Terrible. What a terrible human being. I told him after, I'm like, you're ridiculous. Like, there's no way you did that.
And he's probably looking, where's that Cedric guy get drafted?
Yeah.
I got his autograph.
We told him, yeah, Cedric Seguin, look for him next year in the 7th round. We're like,
Yeah.
Just send us the videos. Treg and I are scouting this year, so
Yeah, we're scouting for recruits.
I'll send you the videos. I got a couple clips.
we'll send you the mic'd up clips too. See his attitude. See if there's any attitude issues.
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't. Don't worry.
all about the culture. Okay, final thoughts. Matt, we'll start with you.
Thanks for coming on the show, guys. You guys have been doing great work, and we're always happy to have you on. So thanks so much for taking the time to do so today.
Well,
Thanks
thank
a
you,
lot for having us.
Appreciate it.
Treg?
Same thing. I know it. We talked all last week, tried to get a show in last week, and just things just weren't going. Glad to have you on. I'm glad we finally got to do this. We'll have to do it again during the season. And to finish off, why did the girl keep buying so many books? Anyone? Because she had no shelf control.
Oh, that's awful. It's awful.
Sign this guy up at the comedy club.
Wow.
I literally,
not in prison?
I'm gonna fly to Halifax to take that calendar from you.
I'm actually, I don't work too far from his house, so I'm going there tomorrow during the day and stealing that bastard.
Yeah, and you're not gonna have a beard, so
No,
I won't
no.
recognize him. I won't recognize him.
Intruder.
If
so
you
on
go-
my end,
If you go between 12 and 2, I'll be at the gym. So
oh, cool.
12 and 2:30. 12 and 2:30.
I didn't see you there between 12 and 2:30 today.
I don't go to the work gym. I go to Fitness FX.
he was in the sauna.
The good
I've
life.
never been in a sauna. That's funny you mentioned that. I've never ever been in a sauna.
Never?
Never.
What a shame.
Do for you, buddy. Said, tell me.
What?
So
What does the sauna do for
on
you?
my
You
end,
have some knowledge about it.
It's good for your skin. Like I gotta say,
really?
after
Was
a
there
big
a lot-
workout, it's good.
Was there a lot of
What?
old men in there with you?
Nah. It was nah. I wouldn't have went.
I think you went to visit with a little friend of his. I think that's why the nice skin comment came out there.
Right.
That's what I
Oh.
this is a family show, guys.
Not
Yeah.
really.
Is it?
I said butt boy about Austin Matthews last show. This can't be that family friendly.
No, it's not. I grew up with Finns, so going in the sauna was normal. You go in the sauna, jump in the snow, go back in, you get drunk, you do the same thing over and over again. It was good times. But for me, I want to thank both you guys for coming on. I've been loving all the work that you guys have been doing over the last couple of years. I love seeing the fans being involved, and you guys have done an amazing job of bringing all the fans in, showing the positive side of the Habs fan nation. You know, you get to see everyone craps on Montreal fans all around the league, but then when you see it on, TikTok, YouTube, the fans are just out having a big old blast. It's a gigantic festival, and you guys capture that. So I really, really appreciate you guys doing that. I love seeing it. I can't wait to see you guys succeed even more this year. So I really appreciate you guys coming on the show and sharing a little bit of time with us.
Hey man, thank you so much. I appreciate the praise and listen, speaking about the other fans, they wish they had something like this in their place, but it just can't be recreated. It just can't.
Thanks all for having us.
Oh, I know, it's our pleasure. So why don't you tell everybody just a couple of spots where they could find you? If you have anything special coming out, you want to break the news here, feel free.
Okay. Well, listen, you can find us on TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Threads, technically, Snapchat, technically. You can find us everywhere. That's kind of the point.
The the most important place you could find us, September 25th at the Bell Center. Be there.
That's true. Every game. We didn't miss a single game last year. So we plan on keeping that record. Us and Nick Suzuki have that in common. So on that note, I mean, listen, we've probably got a podcast coming in the works. We're just we want to make it good. We want to make it really good.
Awesome.
Again, thank you guys very much for coming on the show, and for everyone who's tuned in. I want to thank you all for sending in your requests for guests, for all the comments you share with us on social media. Keep the emails coming. Keep these comments going. We love interacting with everybody. We love this community that's being built up, and we love sharing all the positivity that we've been seeing recently. So keep that up, and remember, if you're talking about it,